Hello, welcome back to Stars and Bars. So, before we get started, this is the updated version, the revamped version of the Ariana Grande video. It includes her work that has come out since the video that I originally released. Also, if you're seeing this, that means the old video has been hidden. This is the new version, but we've got new updated information, and it's in our new Stars and Bars format, so I think that you'll enjoy this one just as much. That being said, hello everyone, I'm Aubrey and welcome back to Stars and Bars, where we analyze your favorite artists' astrological charts and interpret how astrology plays out in their music, lyrics, and career. If you're new here and that sounds interesting to you, please feel free to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any further videos, and let me know in the comments who you want to learn about next. Our subject today is someone whose music has done a lot for me. She started her entertainment career at just 15 years old on Broadway, and shortly thereafter became a Nickelodeon actress. Since the release of her debut album in 2013, she has won 3 AMAs, 2 Billboard Awards, 8 Guinness World Records, a Grammy, and much more. Her 5 initial albums all have reached the top 2 on the Billboard 200 list, and her 6th album positions. At the time of recording, it's a little too early to know yet whether it will as well, but it is projected to perform very well. She has also broken several records as a woman in music, and she is the only artist, besides the Beatles, to ever hold the top 3 spots on the chart. Today, of course, we are talking about Ariana Grande. Here is Ariana Grande's chart. Ariana Grande Butera was born June 26, 1993 in Boca Raton, Florida at 9:16 a.m. That makes her a Cancer sun with Libra moon and a Capricorn rising. Along with her sun, she also has Mercury in Cancer. Her Venus is in Taurus and her Mars is in Virgo. Her chart is Earth dominant and has no planets in fire signs. However, she does have some 9th house placements, so her chart isn't completely deficient of fire. Her dominant sign is Capricorn and her dominant planet is Uranus. Before we start referencing music, let's get you acquainted with her discography so you know what we're talking about when I name albums. If you already know or don't care to watch this part, feel free to skip to the time that is on the screen right now. Ariana Grande's debut album, Yours Truly, from 2013, discusses love, as do her other albums. But as is appropriate for her first album, the perspective on love on this one is mostly from a place of infatuation and naive devotion. Big Cancer energy all over this album, but also lots of that romantic Taurus Venus. The sounds on this album are largely upbeat, with lots of pop influence, of course, also some swing and R&B influence. And it's very reminiscent of 90s and 2000s pop and R&B, which is also pretty standard for Ariana. Her second album, 2014's My Everything, is about a much less stable style of romance, even less stable than infatuation, in fact. She touches on being on both sides of infidelity, as well as on-again, off-again love, and gives us less evidence of her earthy romantic stability and more of her lighthearted 9th house Libra moon and her Scorpio midheaven inconsistent attachment. Sonically, we see some techno influence. Zedd and David Guetta were involved in this album, and it very much shows that Ariana Grande was into this like electro pop type of sound when this came out, as were many people. This album is also much sexier than Yours Truly. In fact, I would say it was probably pretty surprising, some of the things that she says on this album, even though it just starts to scratch the surface of this within Ariana. Things definitely start to get more mature after this one, starting with Dangerous Woman from 2016. You can tell by the title that this is her sexiest album yet at the time of its release. It breaks out of her Nickelodeon star past heavily and really embraces her womanhood. So we see a lot of her Scorpio midheaven, like I talked about earlier, also her 10th house Pluto, both of which make her likely to use her career to express her sexuality. The vibe of the cover, the lyrics, and a lot of the sounds is pretty dark and sexy and mysterious. Very, very Scorpio-like. The whole thing really highlights lots of Scorpio placements, but again, there is some of that Venus and Taurus sensuality as well. Ariana Grande's fourth studio album is called Sweetener, and it's from 2018, and we take a very different approach on this album. This era is markedly more sweet and airy and lighthearted, and this is evidenced immediately by the cover art, which, as you can see, is the first album cover art that is not in black and white. It shows a more cream and beige and white color scheme, which very much foreshadows the content of the album as well, which is very dreamy sonically and even lyrically very dreamy and sweet and lighthearted. This album largely discusses Ariana's relationship with Pete Davidson, which was, as you may know, a whirlwind romance that ended up in engagement and then breaking off the engagement before the marriage. So there's lots of sudden, deep infatuation that comes through lyrically on this album. That gives us lots of that Cancerian openness, which we'll talk about later, and lots of playfully romantic and airy Libra moon energy. Ariana Grande's fifth album, Thank You Next, comes just 6 months after Sweetener. This album reaches new heights of impact, self-awareness, and individualism as Ari experiences a rebirth from the trauma of the last couple years, including the end of the relationship that Sweetener explains and the death of her ex Mac Miller, and also a mass shooting that happened at one of her concerts. So we really see a lot of healing and positivity from Ariana on this album. She reflects on these experiences as well as many other personal topics, and her water grand trine and Scorpio midheaven come through, I feel, the most on this album, because we see lots of moodiness, sentimentality, and reflection. I really feel that Ariana grows on Sweetener, but she evolves on Thank You Next. And finally, what we really need to talk about today is album number 6, Positions, which just came out on October 30th of 2020. Today is November 6th, so it just came out, but we are ready to get on it. So this album is very sexy. It's very R&B focused, but there's also some like vintage sounds, and there's a lot of strings as well, which make it a very musical album. We don't hear a lot of this like playful rapping that Ariana has done. It's lots of singing. She's really singing her little ass off. Even though the lyrics are pretty dirty on this album, more so than probably any other album, probably by a pretty good margin. She really makes the sounds so sophisticated and beautiful, in my opinion. We also see some spiritual growth on this album as Aria familiarizes herself with vibrations, manifestation, the law of attraction, and things like that. This is another album that shows a lot of her Scorpio and Taurus placements by being very romantically and sexually charged. But the manifestation bit is very Libra moon in my opinion, and we will talk about that in a little bit as well. So now that we know the albums, we can go ahead and start at the top of the chart with Ariana's Cancer Sun. She also has Mercury in Cancer, so we're going to be able to cross that one off too. Cancer is a water sign, and it makes people with personal placements in it very sensitive and emotional. It's also ruled by the moon, planet of intuition and nurture. The sun is the planet of vitality and self-image, among other things, while Mercury is the planet of thought patterns and logical knowledge, as well as communication. Further contributing to this watery vibe in Ariana is her grand trine, which is in all water signs. A grand trine is when 3 planets are connected together by trine aspects, also known as 120-degree aspects. And when someone has a grand trine, you can see it in their chart as a triangle. The trine is a harmonious aspect, so having a grand trine, as you may guess, is very harmonious. And because it's in water, it boosts the water power in her chart. Another person that has a water grand trine is Tyler, the Creator, and we have a video on him, so I'll go ahead and put that in the cards, as well as a link in the description if you want to learn more about water grand trines or you just like Tyler, the Creator. So let's look at some examples of this soft girl, nurturing, open-hearted Ariana. There are many examples of this, but don't worry, we're just going to handle a few. So the first one I want to talk about is Right There from yours truly. Verse 2 says, I get butterflies just thinking about you. Sometimes I catch myself daydreaming, lost in your eyes, and I lose all track of time. So Ariana's being very sweet and romantic on this song, as will be the case on most, if not all, of the songs in this category. Moving on, we've got Be My Baby from My Everything. Ariana speaks very openly on this song about how open her heart is, saying, if you know how to treat me, then you'll get the chance to love me. She also says, if you can keep it real with me, be honest, you can get anything you want. And then on Sometimes, Ari says, this is so unusual, I'm not tempted even if they're beautiful, showing that she is open-hearted to a fault, even when committed. On REM, we visit a scene where Ari meets her new love interest and feels like he's made for her, immediately opening her heart. She says, excuse me, I love you. I know that's not the way to start a conversation. I felt like I knew you, so I just wanted to hug you. And then in addition to open-heartedness, we see some Cancerian nurturing on both Breathe In and Get Well Soon, both of which involve Ari relating to her audience that everyone has bad days and advises her audience on how to overcome them by taking deep breaths and taking care of your health, respectively. And we see some of the negative side of being open-hearted again on In My Head from Thank You Next. Ariana tells us about the experience of getting hurt because she trusted someone too hastily. She says, I got a habit of seeing what isn't there, caught in the moment, tangled up in your sheets. She also says, my imagination's too creative, they see demon, I see angel. And she also says, I thought you were the one, but it was all in my head. Moving down the chart, after her Cancer sun comes Ari's Libra moon in the 9th house. She also has Jupiter here, but we'll discuss the moon first. The moon represents our innermost feelings and emotions and intuition. So having your moon in Libra in the 9th house means you feel on a deep level in a Libra way in the 9th house area of your life. So Libra is a communicative, lighthearted, diplomatic, and romantic sign. And the 9th house is the house of philosophy, travel, and spirituality. So the moon in Libra makes someone value romance and harmony on a deep level. And we have already demonstrated that and will continue to. Because of the 9th house, it's likely that this is a big part of her inner philosophy or even her spirituality. This also explains why Ariana uses her voice so much politically. It's very important to her that things are done diplomatically and that things are fair, very big Libra vibes. And Ariana uses her voice all the time to support equality through activism and just inclusion. Now, when it comes to Jupiter, Jupiter is the planet of good fortune and expansion, and it tells us where we can bring success into our lives, as well as where and how we tend to expand things in our life. Ariana's Jupiter in Libra says to me that she brings success into her life by being transparent about her Libran romanticism, which checks out, right? I think that's pretty obvious. And then Jupiter rules the 9th house. So having Jupiter in the 9th house means she has Jupiter in dominion. This strengthens the concepts of good fortune and her ability to expand. What we're really saying here is that Ariana is a manifesting queen. There are a couple notable examples of Ariana's ability to expand her own luck by channeling her natural connection to harmony and balance. So let's get into those. They're both on positions. The first one is the opening track, Shut Up, which is about disregarding others' opinions because she knows she's doing the right things and succeeding. In verse 1, she says, "My presence sweet and my aura bright. Guess it just fucking clicked one night." And verse 2 says, "I vibrate high and my circle lit. We ain't really with drugs and shit. Love the game so I never miss. Keep opinions muted for the hell of it, 'cause I like my shit." So Ariana emanates positive energy and light. This is obvious, I feel, to anyone that's ever seen her do anything. She's amazing. But she explains how she brings these positive things into her life just naturally by acquainting herself with balance through her Libra moon and Jupiter ability. The other example is track 4, Just Like Magic, which there are so many important lyrics on this song. Verse 1 says, "I just want to have a good day, thinking in my head, then it happens how it should. 12 o'clock, I got a team meeting, then a meditation at like 1:30. So she literally describes how she goes about the law of attraction and manifestation. And the pre-chorus says, "Good karma, my aesthetic. Keep my conscience clear, that's why I'm so magnetic. Manifest it, I finessed it." If you don't know about the law of attraction or manifestation, it essentially just says that if you imagine yourself being already grateful for something that you don't have in your life yet, or you don't feel you have in your life yet, depending on what it is, that thing will come to you. So she's practicing good karma, she's keeping a clear conscience, and she's meditating, things that help to strengthen this in people spiritually. And this is just so fitting to especially her Libra Jupiter in the 9th house in just about every way. The rising or ascendant is how we present ourselves to people who are just meeting us. Capricorn is a stable, reliable earth sign that is known for being somewhat monotone or inexpressive due to its rulership by Saturn, which is a very disciplined planet. Obviously, Ariana is very animated on stage and in the booth, but that's her job. However, in interviews, you will find that she has a pretty deadpan, even dark sense of humor. Behold.
Would you ever go to space?
Yeah.
Even if there was a chance that you wouldn't be able to come back?
I don't care.
Yeah. You're in?
I don't care.
Okay.
I've had fun, you know? Whatever's meant to be, will be.
I feel like space would work out really well for you.
Me too.
I feel like
I'd love to go right now. Ship me out.
No, you'd be the person who goes and like you'd be the one who survives and sets up civilization.
Yeah, of course. My luck. Yeah. I'm kidding. Sorry, that's really dark.
You really don't do contacts. I mean, you do mostly, but you wear big glasses.
Nah. If I'm honest, I don't want to see.
Glasses.
I'm good, man. I've seen enough. Sorry.
Now, moving past the rising, we've already discussed her Cancer Mercury, so the next placement is her Taurus Venus. Venus is the planet of romance, beauty, and pleasure, and it rules Taurus as well as Libra, meaning that in addition to Jupiter in its house dominion, Ariana also has Venus in dominion, and this strengthens her Venusian powers of art, beauty, and love. Taurus, like Capricorn, is a stable and dependable earth sign, and because it's ruled by Venus, Taurus is a very romantic and sensual sign. Venus and Taurus natives like Ariana tend to want a love that is stable, dependable, and long-term. There are lots of examples of Ariana talking about this, but here are a few of them. First of all, we have Tattooed Heart from yours truly. This one's pretty self-explanatory. She says, "I want to be the name on your tattooed heart. Tattoos are permanent. Long-term love, you get it. I won't waste your time with it." Moving forward on My Everything, we have Be My Baby. Title also kind of brings it home for this one. She says, "I'll give you all my trust if you don't mess this up. All you got is eyes for me." So again, stable, romantic, committed relationship we're talking about. On Dangerous Woman, Ariana has a song called Leave Me Lonely, where she describes being treated inconsistently by a partner and how it makes her feel like they're not meant for each other. She says, "My heart has had enough of the give and take. Maybe you're no good for me." So yeah, Ariana does not want this inconsistent back and forth relationship. She wants a stable one. We've probably made this clear by now. On Borderline from Sweetener, she says, "You know I'm the wifey type," and she also says, "I bet you won't ever leave." And then on Positions, there's a song called 6:30, the pre-chorus of which says, "I just wonder, baby, if you're gonna stay, even if one day I lose it and go crazy." And then the bridge says, "Will you ride till the end? Am I enough to keep your love? When I'm old and stuff, will you still have a crush?" Pretty self-explanatory again. And then on Safety Net with Ty Dolla $ign, Ari describes a relationship she is scared to enter because she doesn't know for certain that it's safe. She describes this feeling as trippin', fallin' with no safety net. Now, our final personal placement is Virgo Mars. Mars is the planet of aggression, sexuality, and energy output, and Virgo is a rational, dependable earth sign like Taurus and Capricorn, but instead of Saturn or Venus, Virgo is ruled by Mercury, the planet of logic and communication. Virgo Mars natives are focused on how they spend their energy, making them organized and productive, even with many things on their plate. And Ari is known for working on many endeavors at once, seamlessly achieving all of her goals, so that definitely checks out. Ariana's Virgo Mars is in the 8th house of rebirth and transformation as well, which are both huge themes of Ariana's career and discography. Speaking of the 8th house, which is ruled by Scorpio, this is not the only Scorpio-related placement that Ariana has. This is very important to her chart, actually, even though you don't see it when first looking. We love to talk about the midheaven here when we know it, and Ariana's midheaven is also in Scorpio, along with her Pluto, which is in the 10th house as well. The midheaven is the cusp of the 10th house of career and social status, and it gives us a look at someone's career circumstances. And planets in the 10th house help to further paint that picture. So Scorpio represents transformation and sexuality, among other things, and therefore Scorpio midheaven for Ariana means her career largely involves these themes. The first of which is transformation. Now, it's common for pop stars to have eras for each album wherein the mood, image, promotion, and sound is different, communicates a different part of their life or a different idea. And I feel like Ariana Grande's eras are very distinct from one another. And this very much shows the transformation as a theme in her life and especially her career. For example, Dangerous Woman had a dark, sensual feel and theme, followed by Sweetener, which was bright and cutesy and romantic. And then Thank You Next tells a story of finding independence, peace, and working on oneself. Broadcasting so genuinely these seasons of her life has contributed to her social status by making her more relatable and making people curious about what is going on with her at any given time. Now moving to the sexy side of Ariana's Scorpio energy. Scorpio rules the sex organs and is very well known as the most sexual sign, giving a sense of sexual liberation to Ariana's career matters, at least post-Nickelodeon. Some of Ari's most popular songs, think Dangerous Woman, Side to Side with Nicki Minaj, God is a Woman, all of which were on the radio, so it's likely you've heard at least one of those. I'm not going to go through all of Ariana's dirtiest lyrics. I'm sure it'd be super fun for you unless you're a member of my family, in which case it wouldn't be. But I'm just not going to go that far. But if you feel like diving, some songs you could check out. Hands on Me with A$AP Ferg, and pretty much all of her new album Positions, and especially 34 plus 35 and Nasty. Clearly. Next, we just have a few aspects that I want to talk about before we wrap up. An aspect is an angle created by two planets being a certain amount of degrees away from each other on the birth chart. The trine and grand trine that we mentioned toward the beginning are examples of aspects, but the ones that we're going to talk about now are inharmonious aspects instead of harmonious ones. Both of them are 90-degree aspects, also known as squares. The first is the Sun square Moon aspect, where Ari's sensitive, emotional Cancer Sun and her lighthearted, rational Libra Moon do not really see eye to eye. This leads to a struggle between her wants and needs, and makes a lot of sense. Ari's Cancer Sun wants tenderness and nurture, but her Libra Moon needs balance and lightheartedness. Some examples of this include on Break Free from My Everything, where she says, "Thought of your body, I came alive. In my dreams, it felt so right." And then the next line says, "But I woke up every time." And then the chorus and overall intended theme of the song says, "This is the part where I say I don't want you. I'm stronger than I've been before." So you can see her kind of struggling in this song between her wants and needs, especially romantically. On Dangerous Woman, we have Leave Me Lonely, which I know we already talked about, which she very bluntly describes her want versus need struggle. She says, "As much as I want you to stay, you're a dangerous love. Maybe you're no good for me, because if you're going to love me and leave me hanging here, then I'd rather you leave me lonely, even though it hurts." And then we have a great example of this on Thank You Next, with the second and third tracks, the second being Needy and the third being NASA. The chorus of Needy says, "I can be needy, tell me how good it feels to be needed." And NASA's chorus says, "Give you the whole world, I'ma need space." And then verse 1 says, "I'd rather be alone tonight, you can say I love you through the phone tonight." So both moods are very valid, but we see much more Cancer on Needy and much more Libra on NASA. And then the final placement and aspect I want to talk about today is her Sun square Jupiter aspect. Planets in hard or inharmonious aspect to Jupiter can cause excessive or challenging expansion in the areas of life affected. In this case, she has her Sun in the 6th house of service and health, so this is the place we see the expansion. We talked about the 10th house and the 6th house. Just to be clear, these both kind of discuss the work of the native, but the 10th is more about your social status as regard to your work, and the 6th is more about the work you do and the service you provide. That being said, we see Ariana Grande's Jupiter expanding matters within her work a lot from August 2018 through December of 2019. In this short 16 months, Ari released 2 full-length albums, Sweetener and Thank You Next, and embarked on her 9-month, 101-show Sweetener World Tour. She worked herself so hard, and on social media, we often saw her steaming her vocal cords, or avoiding using her voice between shows. Ariana's Mars is also in Virgo, as we talked about earlier, which rules the 6th house, making another one of her placements that is in Dominion, and further highlighting her hardworking nature that may be considered by some, including probably some healthcare professionals, to be excessive. 2020 has also shown this in Ariana. She released a whole ass album on her off year, while also helping with the US election via activism. So Ariana really puts in the work, for sure. And that's all we've got for today, so thank you so much for watching. Feel free to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this and want to see more. And again, let me know in the comments who you want to learn about next. Have a wonderful rest of your day.